podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the WRRAP podcast. As ever, it's me, Harley, in the hot seat. I'm joined by the usual crew of Hattie, Nick, and Dan. How are we doing, fellas and lady?
Yeah, not too
Folks,
bad.
that was the term we discussed on off air.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah.
All good.
Good. I gave up a chance to play rugby, although that game got called off because of the pitch anyway, for going to see Bluey live.
Oh,
and
well,
can I tell you, it was actually quite fun. I enjoyed it.
Can I just ask, is Hattie there? I can't see her. There's a bit of fog on my screen.
Yeah, you can't see me. I'm just hidden.
my weekend started well. I went to see I went to support the local choir, Mynyddyslwyn Male Voice Choir, whereby they had a pre-Six Nations speaker, so they had Lou Reed in their choir hall, and I know him played with Lou, so it was nice to catch up with him. The last time we saw each other, that we come to we established was about 10 years ago in Tiger in Cardiff, so that's how long ago. That's how long ago that was. We saw each other, and we were both a bit worse for wear that night. So it was good to catch up with him and see him, and then it gradually got worse, to be perfectly honest. Abbott Lady took a trip down to the capital and come second against Glamorgan Wanderers. I don't want to go into the score because I'm still having therapy over it.
I remember the number 3 being mentioned on Gav's roundup.
Yeah,
I can't remember what that 3 was attached to.
well, it was attached to a 6, and
But which way round was it?
Oh, come on now, stop it! You can go and look at the score on All Wales Sport, right? But there you go. But, no, we come second. They were good in all fairness to them, and it was one of those games where every offload they threw stuck and so on and so forth. They were good, pushed the sword. So good on them. Congratulations to the Wanderers on a well-deserved victory. We know that that's not our they're not our battle really. The likes of Wanderers and Bedwas this year, our fight is for survival. So we move on to next week, or the week after rather. I'll do a little shameless plug here actually. That this Friday evening, Abbott Leary play Old Tillerians RFC for Old Tillerians' 75th anniversary. Old Tillerians currently play in Division 5 East, I want to say. So they'll be coming to Abbott Leary Park, the short half-a-mile trip down the road to Abbott Leary Park, and all donations go to a charity on the gate. All gate donations, etc., go to a charity. So please come down and have a beer and enjoy a bit of Friday night rugby. Should be a good laugh. But yeah, so that happened up to me on Saturday, and then Blackwood under 11s got spanked as well on Sunday. Bless them. Rugby's always the winner. Yeah. It was resignation time by Sunday afternoon. So but as they say it with kids rugby, rugby's always the winner.
Okay.
But it wasn't the winner. Whitehead's RFC were the winner. But there you go.
Nick, how were your weekends then?
I have got a very grumpy Labrador. He's more grumpy than normal. So I was discussing with Harley off air that it's a bit like having a newborn baby, except instead of crying, it's incessant barking.
Oh.
I'm still waiting for the imminent birth of my first grandchild. Hopefully it'll be this week or next weekend. I've told her, please leave a space between, is it 6:15 that we kick off in Twickenham? And 8:30. Or maybe it might be better if she does do it. It does come out at that time.
Yeah.
I don't have to watch what we might be talking about later.
Absolutely. It's been busy time all round. And of course, you were at the Brewery Field on Saturday as well, weren't you? So yeah, good.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
fantastic.
And a good occasion, and good to catch up with people, including a few of the boys off the Dragon's Lair, and a good chat with Jamie in particular about a few things around Welsh Rugby. But we'll leave those two maybe to the individual pods, is it, Harley?
Yeah, so we won't cover too much about the games this weekend. We're going to leave that to the feeder pod so we can focus a bit more on the Wales stuff. And as it is Sixmas and Six Nations is starting, we're bringing back a popular segment of Drink of the Week. This sponsored by Beer 52. So if any of you fancy a free case of 8 beers, just pay the postage and you get some absolutely wonderful beers. So going to go through this blurb and then we'll talk about what we've got. So if you want your 8 free beers plus postage, go to beer52.com/wrap. So that's /WRRAP. And you cover the postage, you get your 8 incredible beers. So Beer 52 are currently the #1 beer club. It's one I've used quite a bit in the past. It's great. So when we were doing Drink of the Week, I was always struggling to find new beers. So something like Beer 52 really helped because I didn't have to think and go to get stuff at supermarkets. So when you go in, you get a different selection of beers and stuff. If you're like me and you don't mind what you go for things. I know Nick, you tend to be more on the lighter side of things, so they've got a lighter box which is more focused more towards your pilsners and your lighter IPAs, or if Dan you want some good hearty Men of Gwent style stouts and porters, you can go more towards that thing. Hattie, I know you normally drink neat absinthe and whatever the hip kids are drinking these days, but I'm sure there's beers in there for you too. As well as beers, you get the fantastic Ferment magazine, which talks about beers all around the world, fermenting processes. I'll be honest, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but I've been rifling through and actually found it really, really interesting. There's also wonderful snacks that I'm sure Hattie would love to tell you what they were like, but they were so good. Her parents ate them before she had to go.
Yeah, don't leave them on the side in your own house, because if you get a visitor, they might nick them. She said they were very nice though, so.
And the big thing, so as well as getting your beer, your snacks, all that with these subscriptions, if you're not happy or you want to skip a week, it's very simple. Just click pause and it will cancel. Go through. So just remember, if you want your 8 free beers plus some snacks plus an interesting magazine, go to www.beer52, so 52 /WRRAP and get your free case. And now that's all that. Now let's talk to the thing that people really want, and that is the beers. So this week, because I can, I'm going to decide that I'm going first. And I'll be honest, I've picked this one purely by the brewer's name. So this is by the Yeasty Boys.
Yeasty Boys.
Called Speed Date. So it's a Pacific IPA. It's really nice, fresh, hoppy, quite refreshing. It's almost like a Pilsner, but just got that little bit more of a hoppy edge to it. As you can tell, I am a bit of a nose when it comes to these, but I do love it. It's one of the things. Yeah, just nice and refreshing. And Frank, I could just quite happily just drink that instead of talking about Wales play rugby, but unfortunately we do have other things to do. Nick, we'll go on to you next.
Okay, I've got a Pilsner. It's a Carlo's Worldwide New Zealand Pilsner. And it's a bit more hoppy than I would normally choose to have, but it's actually very tasty, and I'm enjoying it.
Aces Hattie, what have we got today?
We've got exceptional design work here, which you can't really see, but it is the Tropical Unicorn Session IPA, complete with unicorn on the can. I believe it's pineapple-y. Pineapple, passion fruit, grapefruit, bright orange, and tangerine. So all the fruits. It smells fruity. It kind of tastes a bit like Starbursts. If Starburst were a beer.
I'm not gonna lie now. I'm really looking forward to trying that one now. I've got that one chilling in the fridge now. Dan, fit it round to stuff.
Yeah, so I've opened Strange Brewing's Citra Ciegas, if that's how you pronounce it, something along those lines. Yeah, if you can see it. And I've gone with it today because it's a hearty 6.5% for a Monday evening. And while I will encourage you all to drink responsibly, this will get you anchored.
Tell me all 3 of your teams lost without telling me all 3 of your teams lost, Dan.
4 if you include Gwalia.
Wow,
that was painful. That's painful and unexpected and didn't happen. I've memory hold it. I said I'm pretty sure the boys and the Dragons there said it was a bye week this week. Sorry, Gav. Should have picked you up on that one. Anyway, so we'll move on. So quickly go through the news. It was looking quite empty, but we did get something drop
Yeah,
this evening, just before we started recording.
yeah. I'll come to that last, if that's okay, Harley, and ask for comments at that point. It's mainly been Ospreys news, really, not related to what's going on in the background. The Ospreys announced last week that Leinster scrum half Cormac Foley, who's 26, joined the club on a short-term loan to cover international call-ups and injuries. He has made 23 appearances for Leinster and now has one appearance for the Ospreys after he came on Saturday night. The Ospreys also announced that young loosehead prop Garen Phillips, who's currently out injured, I believe, has signed a new deal for the club. Garen, 24, is a former pupil of Ysgol Dewine and has made 48 appearances for the Ospreys and is seen as quite a promising young player, despite his coaching and by David Francis, who appears on the Ospreys occasionally on the Welsh pod and me. So despite that in the background, he's doing pretty well. And stay with Wales' most successful team. Steve Tanby has called up Osprey lock Rhys Davies into the Six Nations squad. Probably not a surprise, given that we all sort of knew that the Gloucester prop second row was injured, Fred Thomas, going into the squad. So I think the shock was, why wouldn't you at least have 4 fit locks to start the Six Nations? Anyway, and as Harley's alluded to, the big news tonight and hot off the press and much discussed on this podcast, and I noticed was picked up by Lawrence Slate on the BBC podcast. The naming rights for the stadium has been agreed, and it will continue to be with the Principality Building Society for a further 3 years. We also learned that tonight, unbeknown to I think most of us, that an extension was agreed with the WRU, with Principality, to cover an extra year during COVID. There's a surprise. We weren't told by the powers to be about anything about that till tonight. And in the interest of lack of WRU finance transparency, we don't actually know how much per annum this is actually going to mean, what the financial commitment is to the WRU, how that might help the financial situation for Welsh Rugby. Dan, you and I have been most vocal about this on the podcast and in our WhatsApp group. What's your view on this? And obviously the others are more than welcome to come in with any of that news.
Well, first and foremost, I think it, on the whole, is probably good news. It means that we've got someone that's still interested in banging some money in. But ultimately, we kind of knew that there would be plenty of interest due to the status of the stadium. You know, we've discussed this no end of times, the amount of shows and boxing and football and everything else. It's not just a rugby venue. So, as you've already alluded to, the thing I'm most disappointed about is we don't know how much. When I saw the news, I quoted it and retweeted it, basically saying that 5 to 10 million per year, because my understanding is that's what Twickenham's at the top end of that. It's sort of 10 million a year. I'm right in saying 100 million over 10 years.
Yeah.
For me, we should be somewhere in and around that region. So anything less than 5 would be a failure for me. Just due to the nature and people are going to come at me going, "Oh, Welsh Rugby's not what it should be," and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but it's not just a rugby venue. So everyone in the current, if you had some good news, surely you'd want to shout it from the rooftops. So to me, it stinks a little bit that they've had to release it because people are asking the questions, but it ain't good.
And I think as well, like, it's not just like obviously people on Twitter were kind of asking, like fans were asking. I don't know if any of you saw it. I probably should have saved it to bring it up exactly, but there was a report earlier on, or kind of late last week, saying how much in naming rights the WRU had lost because of how poor the Principality deal was. And obviously people were then asking the question, what's going on with it? And I think that's potentially why. But it's just everybody knows it's a bad deal. So is it improved? Is it not?
Well, and
Probably not.
And the only thing that's suitable is that it would improve. the numbers should be there. You know, for me, what's the current deal? £1 million a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, you know, to any layperson listening to this, including us, you know, £1 million is exceptionally large
Life
sum of money.
changing.
Yeah, but not when you own an asset like the Millennium Stadium or the National Stadium, whatever you want to call it, in its sort of original term, that has hosted Drake, Beyonce, Stereophonics, Oasis, Ed Sheeran, Madonna, the list goes on. That's hosted, you know, for those of you that like your wrestling, the WWE. That's hosted international and world championship boxing events. That's hosted the Champions League final. And I know people will say, and it's due to host European football tournaments. I know what people say. People say they got to take the name down because of the UEFA laws. So they call it the National Stadium of Wales, I think, for the football stuff. They got to take the sponsorship off it. But I'm telling you now, everyone go into it and everyone talking about it is still a principality. Right? Simple as that. When people are talking about it in their living rooms or in the pubs, oh, what's that stadium on the TV? It's the Principality. Okay. Or what's the National Stadium of Wales? Google it. Or Principality Stadium. You know, come on. It's a multi-use venue that should be worth millions of pounds to sponsor per year, and anything less than as a failure.
I think it just shows how little faith big organisations have in the WRU, and Principality like, well, if it's cost us pennies. I think on to the Cardiff Central podcast put out, it was for 2 points of SAE, a glass of white, was it a gin tonic and some crisps.
Yeah,
It's probably nothing for them, especially with all the exposure. Plus, as part of that naming deal, they seem to get access to players for adverts and the like. So
yeah, and I said earlier, didn't I wonder how much they paid for the extension? It's probably like £6.50 a year or something stupid. I know £6.50, you know, a debenture in a box and so, you know, whatever it is. But I don't know. If it was anything substantial, I think that we'd have heard about it. There'd have been a press release, and so I'm assuming it's going to be similar, which is wholly disappointing.
100%.
I agree. I said the only thing I want to add to the news is I think we said it when the squad was announced that Reece Davis should have been in from the start. But I think that's everything news wise then.
Yeah, that's for me anyway.
So moving on, so Sixmas is fast approaching. This year it's going to start on Thursday night, but that's France Ireland. So we're not going to cover too much about that game. If you want to hear a bit more about that, keep an eye out for the top 14 digest, which is on the Global Game Line pod. We also have the Interpro show, but we'll cover it from our own perspective, and the URC Rewind will be dipping in and out of Six Nations this year. I've always said check out the WRRAP channel if you want to hear more about the regional games that happen this weekend. Dragon's Lair's already out. Cardiff Central will be recording tomorrow. Scarlet's
Erie's Wednesday.
Erie's Wednesday. Scarlet's is recording as
tonight.
we are as well. There's also the SRC podcast if you want to hear more about the thrilling called off game between Swansea and Ebbw Vale due to weather. So there's lots of that. If you like this podcast, like, subscribe, leave a comment. But for now, it's time to talk Six Nations stuff. Guys, I'm going to start off this with a very down question. What's the fucking point?
Well,
I can't wait to sit on my sofa and just be in pain, just mental torment, and then to have the audacity of people I know. Obviously, accent gives it away. I live in England. A lot of my friends, unfortunately, are England fans. I will then have text messages of people just laughing at me.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's worse when they send pitying text messages as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit more upbeat about it. I think, and I'll explain why. Number one,
Is it the beer
the
that's got
lager.
to you? Yeah.
The beer, yeah. It's 6.5%. I'm, halfway wankered. No, not all the way. Halfway. No, I think let's just go through team by team, right? I think that England at Twickenham is going to be a step too far for us. No doubt about it. They're on a good run at the moment. On the up, I think it's 11 on the spin. They've created some real good depth, especially with their summer tour to Argentina. So they're definitely on the up. And I would say that Ireland is probably going to be a step too far away from home, although they do have some issues up front at the moment in terms of prop fitness. And very much the same as England does. England struggling on the tight head side of the scrum. Nevertheless, I think they'd be too much for us. France have gone a little bit gung-ho in terms of their selection, leaving out the likes of Pinot and Gael Ficou, which I think is a little bit crazy. But on the other hand, their depth chart is incredible. But we all know that stereotypically the French, irrespective of clubs or the national side, don't travel too well. I think they'll be a little bit too strong for us, but there's an opportunity to put in a good performance at home against the French. And there's no reason, I don't think, that why we can't beat Italy and Scotland. The key for Scotland is they always start like a steam train at the moment. They've done the same in recent years. They did the same in the autumn internationals. We need to stop them getting so far ahead so that we can, we need to stay in the arm wrestle, because if Blair Murray's try wasn't chalked off at the tail end of last season's campaign, we weren't far off picking up a result up at Murrayfield. And we nearly came back the year before as well, didn't we, at the Principality? So I don't think we'd be far off there. My understanding is the Italian squad's got a few injuries to key people as well, and their depth chart, like Capuazzo's out, for example, and I think their depth
He's got
chart...
a paper cut.
Yeah, but it's nasty, real nasty one. And their depth chart, I would have said, is probably going to be similar to ours. And let's not forget, we play in the same tournament as pretty much their first team, i.e. Benetton. And we know that we know what it takes to beat those guys. So there's, whilst I think 2/3 fixtures are probably too far for us. Again, very much like Abbott Leary on the weekend, whereby Glamorgan Wanderers not really our battle in the league. I don't think England, France, or Ireland are our battle this season. It's about trying to pick up those home wins against Italy and Scotland.
My only concern is, and I'm sort of in between, is that if we get absolutely hammered in those first two games, which is a possibility, how do we retain the confidence in what are winnable games? I do believe you're right there, Dan, against Scotland at home, and then a tougher trip to Ireland. And then, let's say it's a game we go into in the last weekend of the season where we've lost every game. I think we're more than capable of beating Italy at home. We weren't that far off, let's be honest, in the rain in Rome last year under Gatland and a very limited game plan. However, there's so much pressure would be on us if we go into that last game having played 4, lost 4, and taken a couple of heavy defeats along the way. Could we raise our game for that final game? That would be my biggest concern, and we'll come to it later on in our podcast. That would be something that would give me great concern.
I think
just that though. To be fair, it's not even just the mental side of being. It's we've got the two most physical teams up first, back to back. Then we play Scotland. Then then we have a rest week. Then we play Ireland again, another physical team before we face Italy. There's a good chance that the team that, if we put out what we conceive as our best 23, there's a good chance a lot of them won't be there for week 5. Particularly given how much rugby some of these lads have played, or how little in some cases as well, because we all know playing too much and playing too little is just as bad as each other at times. I think it could be a bit of a worry. Well, I think realistically we could, not realistically, I think feasibly we could win 2 games. I feel like Scotland haven't really kicked on. I think their autumn showed that they are stagnating a little bit. And I'll be honest, I think Italy should be really worried that the 2 players who are arguably their first choice halfbacks in Pasarello and Garbisi are not playing a lot. They tend to, the games they're playing are in the top 14 are the games where you're like, who on earth's that again? Oh, didn't so-and-so play for the All Blacks in like 2011?
Yeah.
With 3 games.
It's they tend to very much be in the rotated sides. So I think that could be an issue for them as well. I think what what I think we're going to have to focus most on is going to be, as cliched as it is we're going to have to focus on performances. And we've got to see an improvement from the autumn and an improvement week on week, I think, for me.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to score tries. See, look, I don't think scoring tries will be a problem for us. I just think we need to shore up that defence a little bit because, you know, scored. I think it's the first time we scored 4 tries against the All Blacks in a long time. The problem is whenever they had the ball, even though we were making tackles, it was too much gain line. You know, the physicality was too much for us. Same with Argentina. But I think if we play like we played with the ball against those two sides, then we'll score plenty, especially against Scotland and Italy. So
I think
I
that's
think
going to be
we'll
an
be all
interesting
right.
discussion when we come on to team selection, because I don't disagree with you there, Dan, at all. But I have ideas how, which might be different to other people on this podcast, how we shore up our defence.
I know what you're going to say, and I think it's definitely something worth considering. But we'll go on to that. I said that's a preview for later. So first of all, we'll focus on England. Let's get this one out of the way because then we don't have to think about them again. Tournament. So they've released their squad for the game. Borthwick
On a Monday.
on a Monday. Borthwick has been very bolshy. He knows what he is, and I know he hates leaks almost as much as Gatlin, so he's more than happy to say, "Here's the team." I mean, not a huge amount of surprises in this, so I'm just gonna run through. So 15 to 9, 1 to 8, correct, the correct way to do it. So you've got Freddie Stewart at fullback, Manuel Faber-Boso, Tommy Freeman, Fraser Dingwall, Harry Arundel, makes up your sort of mid, your outer backs. George Ford controlling it at 10 with Alex Mitchell at 9. Then your pack is Genge, Jamie George for what is going to be one of his second to last Six Nations, injury permitted. Hayes, Alex Coles, Ollie Chesham, Guy Pepper, Sam Underhill, and Ben Earl in what is basically a three fetchers back row. And then on the bench, you've got Luke Cowan, Dickie Bevan-Rod, Davidson, Mario Itoje, Tom Curry, Henry Pollock, Ben Spencer, and Marcus Smith as your sort of back covers. Again, I think everyone could have picked those names. I think the surprise is Itoje on the bench, but there's family bereavements which make it understandable. And I think the game plan is going to be very simple, isn't it? It's going to be 60 minutes of kicking us and have their back three, and for Tommy Freeman chase after, pinch the ball off us, and then in the last few minutes when we try and open up, you're gonna have the likes of Pollock and Marcus Smith running wild.
Yeah, well, yeah, they play like a 4-phase probing game when you get the middle third of the field, whereby they get 4 phases to make momentum via a line break or an edge. If they don't get that, then they kick the ball. And traditionally, it's either a box kick to compete or they go down into coffin corner. Now, aerially, we've been suspect, haven't we? I think that's probably what lost us the game via Argentina. Despite the physicality, if we'd have had more ball against Argentina rather than losing the aerial battle, I think we'd have been in the game a little bit more. What I am pleased about, in a way, is that with England, I'm never sure of the balance of their back row. Like he says, effectively, there's 3 sevens on there. We all can play 7. He's a bit of a hybrid, Ben Earl. I like Pepper and Underhill. I think they're cracking players. Teammates at Bath. Underhill, destructive defensive tackler. Fantastic. But, I don't think there's anything from a physicality perspective that we shouldn't be able to manage. They're not massive men. There's not like a Billy Vunipola in there now, or someone that's absolutely huge. The other one that I think we need to be aware of defensively is Fraser Dingwall. Dingwall's very good at 12 at taking the ball to the line and picking the right option. So if we're going to defend soft, let him come at us and then pick a runner. It's going to be a hard day at the office. There'll be line breaks anyway. We have to put Dingwall under pressure every time he's got the ball. And there's no hiding the fact that if we allow George Ford an armchair for the day, he's going to dictate everything that happens. In a really old-fashioned way, I would have thought. So he needs to be seen too early. I don't know what you think.
I think you stole the mark from my question, which is going to be how do we combat England? And I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. It's got to be you can't let Ford have his platform, and you can't. And if we're not secure in that ruck ball, the back row is going to have a field day. But if we can make them work a bit more, then
Yeah,
maybe we've got half a chance.
we have to be sound aerially. We have to be more aggressive defensively. We can't sit off them and let them pick holes. And we can't allow the one way you can get at Ford, and again, everyone's aware of this. You've got 100 international caps now. George Ford is a first-class touch rugby player in defence. We have to be sending people down his channel to target him. You don't want to be running at Sam Underhill and people like that for the entirety of the game. We have to try and target wherever George Ford is, especially from set piece. I'd be targeting that seam at the back of the lineup very quickly to run back at an angle towards him. I'd be launching the likes of Aaron Wainwright off the back of the scrum, especially if Thomas Francis starts to go and get into him straight away. And, it's a bit old school, isn't it? But we got to rough him up a little bit, I think. And in terms of our tactics, I wouldn't play with the ball at all in our half, because if we get turned over, they'll transition us very quickly, either kick us back into coffin corner or score. Score via transition. Every kick's got to be completable. If we're not finding turf, either straight down the middle of the field, turning their back to, because I think they'll probably defend 13 and 2 on the weekend. So we know that they're going to kick us the ball back. It's got to be to compete for me, and that would be from a box kick. So Thomas Williams box kicking back into the 15-meter channel, and get people in the air around him to mop up any extras.
But to play that game, we've got to pick a team who can play that game.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
might not be who's in the best form, whatever. It's about, that's our game plan. Who within our squad is best suited to play that game plan.
Yeah, and because I think we've showed, especially in the autumn and sort of jockeys attack, that we in the middle third we do have a tendency to overplay a little bit, which is why I think. But however, it's different when we attack the way that he wants us to attack when we're in the final third, because teams are a little bit less aggressive because they don't want to concede offside penalties. They're a little bit more warier of giving up edges because you don't want to concede extra meters into your 22, and territory turns into pressure, turns into points. And if we do get a chance to kick into the corner, we've actually got a particularly good driving maul, which has been a weapon for a period of time. So for me, it would be as fewer phases as possible in our half. Every time we kick, it's got to be long and on, turn in the backfield in order for them. With a fast middle field, so they kick us the ball back, or it's got to be box kick to compete. But those kicks need to be completable. You're talking 6 seconds in the air. They don't have to be very long, and you want to be landing that ball on the 5-meter line. So you've got the extra defender in the touch line, and you can cut off the play then to the inside. Because the last thing you want to do is be kicking wide, because then it opens up both sides of the field for them to attack.
Hattie, what do you think?
Well, Dan just gave the most in-depth
Sorry about that.
coaches. Honestly, I feel like, as Dan said, like we didn't really have too many issues actually scoring tries in the autumn. It's our defence is the big problem, and it's cliche and it's really obvious, but to win a rugby match, you do actually need to score more points than the other team, and we just are incapable of doing so. And so part of me wants to say, oh well, if we go out and we get 4 tries and we get a try bonus point, like actually no, I don't know if that is a win at this point, because obviously not a win, but like I don't know if that's a positive, because we know that we can do that. Actually, what we really need to do is keep the other scoreline down. And I think it's going to be really, really frustrating if we get, we score 26 points, 4 tries, we miss conversion, whatever, and the other team scores 63. To me, that's not a win, but I think that's potentially something that we're looking at when we play against England at the weekend. So yeah, as I said, that back row is going to be lethal, but it's very unbalanced. And I feel like it's been chosen to, they're not going to be expected to do loads of grunt work. They're going to be expected to be a bit flashy. And actually we need to stop them doing that.
Just to pick up on that, I think if looking at our stats, when we're conceding 6, 7 tries a game, we just can't do that. We've got to concede. If we can keep them down to 4, okay, and push 5 tries, there's relative success in that, and score a few ourselves, and that's realistically when we play the likes of England away. That's where we are.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I hope as well that what they beat us at home last time, 60 or was it 60?
Yeah.
It was like the biggest scoreline ever for
68,
England.
68,
Yeah.
14 was it, or something like that? Awful, awful performance. And sometimes in rugby, like fear is a massive performance driver. Now, on Saturday, when you're standing there and singing the national anthem, have a little bit of fear. It's not a bad thing. The fear
No.
being knowing that if you don't perform to 100% of your capability, you could ship 60. That's the fear.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it was only 2 years ago where we were unlucky not to win when Alex Mann made his debut and scored. Did he
Yeah.
score 2 tries or score a try? And
Yeah.
what was the score? 19.
We lost by 2, I think, didn't we?
Lost by 2. That's the level of performance that we're looking for. Have that fear. That fear drives you, So, and just to pick up on the back row thing as well, having Pepper and Underhill in there, what that also offers them, and this is why I think it screams to me that they're expecting a kicking game, is that when teams shape the box, or when you were boxing, you want your chasers to be your scavengers, your pilferers. So what will happen is if when Wales shape the box, they'll send one of those back into the kick zone straight away. Now you can't sort of marshal or jockey people in anymore. But if Stewart or like Faye Waboso, for example, the good Welshman catches the ball, then what that allows them to do is to have a back row forward in there straight away to win the ruck. And that serves 2 purposes really. Number one, traditionally back row forwards are better at winning ball on the floor than outside backs are. And if they do win it quickly and we're in transition, it allows them to. It means they got ball players on feet. On the other hand, what it means is when you've got those 2 chasing the ball, you know that the counter ruck opportunities there. So when the likes of Grady, whoever it is we think is going to be playing, goes up and takes the ball, if you throw in 2 back rowers like Pepper and Underhill into that ruck, there's a greater chance of you receiving the ball, getting the ball back on a counter ruck, because you know that if we don't resource it properly, go back row for back row, and you've got 2 back rowers counter rucking against a fifth like the Louis Rees-Zammit or the kicker, because traditionally the kicker may drop back in, then they'd be able to play against us on transition from counter ruck ball as well. So those selections as well tell me that they're less worried about ball carrying options, but more about ball retention and ball gathering, the ball gathering capability. And let's not forget the likes of Genge, Chesham, Jamie George will do the grunt of the ball carrying work for him anyway. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it's actually done really as well, is when you think about it, it's given Tandy and everyone else an opportunity to pick a side that they think can suitably counter that England selection. So it'll be interesting to see what we go with.
And that selection is very. I mean, the way it's once again proven that it seems to be that England are copying the box with everything, whether it's going for the I think the disgusting thing they call the POM squad and all that, and they always seem to be following South game stuff. But even they're going out earlier saying, "You know what we're going to do? You stop it."
And
Which,
I
to be
think,
fair, is the sort of arrogance actually that I tend to find when England sides have that. That is when they're good.
yeah, and I think what you'll probably find on the weekend is our starting 15. I think we spoke last week. I think there's maybe some semi-contentious decisions in the squad overall, but I think the starting 15 will probably be more than competitive for potentially 50 minutes to the hour. However, I think their their bench will be stronger than ours. They're going to bring the likes of Maro Itoje off the bench, and we're not. And that's probably where our depth will become will become tested. But what have we got to lose? There's not a rugby
Yeah,
soul
go for
in
it.
there's not a rugby soul in the world that thinks that we are going to go up and trouble England on the weekend. So we're massive underdogs, and that probably suits us.
And it's not just we haven't got anything to lose. England have quite a lot to lose. Uh, Not just in terms of like nobody wants to be the side that loses to Wales, I think, at this point, especially not a team that's quite high up like England. But they are lineal world title holders. They do hold
They do hold
the
the
Rayburn
Rayburn
Shield.
The
Shield. Well
Rayburn
done.
Shield, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with the Wales thing. Nobody wants to be the team that loses to Wales, and I was thinking about this earlier on. Actually, I wonder whether we're fast becoming the Italy of like sort of 7 to 10 years ago. Is Jack Morgan going to be our Sergio Parisse, whereby we're in the doldrums for the next decade, but we've got one or two world-class players that would walk into any team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think how about we'll do some team selection now, and then we'll try and talk how we think this team should play and how we'll think at least make it respectable. Now, before we go in, I just want so we've already highlighted that the teams that we were selecting were fine at scoring tries, but not so good at defeating them. Now, with these changes in mind, we've got to make sure I feel like we do have to balance not going too far the other way and see a team that can sort of hold back the tide, but we don't score enough points that it does matter. Because if we're going to let teams into our 22 and we defend admirably and let in 2-3 tries, that just means we're getting beaten by 10, 15 points, but we've only scored 3. I feel like that's also a step backwards as well. So I think we'll start off with front row. So options at loose head, just to get it, are Nicky Smith, Gareth Thomas, and Rhys Carey. So use your loose heads. Then tight heads, you've got Thomas Francis, Archie Griffin, and Sam Wainwright. And then hookers, we have Belcher and basically it's a fight for the bench between
Yeah,
Belcher and Lyles
Dewey's
because I
gonna
think
start. He's got to.
Dewey's going to start. So, Hattie, do you want to start off? Who you think the props are going to be either side of Dewey?
I mean, I'd be really surprised if it's anybody but Tom Francis.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Archie Griffin is only just making his way into that Bath team. The Sam Wainwright, I'm not going to say anything. And yeah, Tom Francis, he's been playing in the Pro Day, but realistically, if you're going to pick any position out of the Pro Day, I think a prop is probably the one that you want to pick. And he's just very experienced. Do I expect him to do anything else around the pitch? No.
You
He
want
will
him to?
make tackles. He will stick his head in a defensive ruck.
That's
and
true.
slip
That's
down.
true. Yeah.
He's very good. He's very good around the ruck area. I don't expect him to carry.
No. And then other side, I don't know, Nicky Smith maybe. I don't know. I'm less certain about that one.
I'll go next. I do expect Nicky Smith to start. He's, from what I believe, I don't watch a lot of Prem Rugby, as it's now called, but I'm not hearing anything that he tell me different, that he's not doing well for Leicester. But happy to be challenged on that. So Nicky will start. And yeah, it's got to be Thomas Francis. He's, he might not do that much on the field, but for me, if he can hold his own scrum for 45 minutes and do the other things that Harley's alluded to, he's done his job. Then it's up to the next man to come on and do his job. So if he can do that, I think that's great because let's be honest, if we were starting one of the other tight heads we had in the squad, we wouldn't be possibly, we'd be saying we might be under pressure at the scrums from the first scrum. But I do expect Thomas Francis to be able to hold his own in the scrum for at least a half.
Yeah, I agree. Smith, Lake, Francis for me.
So I'm gonna jump in and be awkward. So I'm gonna go with two things. See if either of them sway you. So Gareth Thomas, I know he hasn't been playing a lot, but I find he doesn't tend to bring too much impact off the bench. But one thing he's very good at, if you bring him up, if you have him for that first 50 minutes, is he gets people down and he gets them down quickly before they give up too much gain line, which is addressing one of your points. The other thing I want to say is Tandy seems very keen on Rhys Carey starting, getting 50 minutes out of him, and then Nicky Smith off the bench. And then with Carey, in theory, you've got a carrying option, which allows for your tight head to maybe not, and other positions around the field to not take up the bulk of that work.
Yeah,
Either of those for you, or are we all definitely going to go with Smith?
No,
so
despite that.
I agree with you that I think out of those three options, Nicky Smith is the most effective off the bench. But I think that's just because he's the most effective generally.
I was about to say, is this going to be a France 2011 thing where they thought, oh, our fly half's really good off the bench. He's a really good impact player, but the impact was because they were starting two scrum halves instead.
yeah, no,
Was it Tranduk at the time? I think. Or was it Freddie
yeah.
Miklat? I can't remember who the particular fly half was, but they played. Oh, God, I think they were playing Morgan Parra at 10 or something like that, something odd like that. Anyway, so right, that's the same. So moving on to the favourite bone of contention. So I'm gonna just drop a grenade right in here, and then I'm gonna let Nick have his say. So for me, I'm picking a lock pairing of Dav Jenkins and Ben Carter. So I think you've got two high work rate players, both very good at line out, and defensively very solid.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have.
Do they carry more than once per game?
Oh, my nan carries more once again.
No.
Anyway, so I know what Nick. So Nick, I know you're his biggest defender. I purposely haven't done this wind you up. This is genuinely my thought of just going for people who are gonna go through. Argue the case for any different. If you want to go for Rhys Davis or Adam Beard,
No.
whichever
Well,
pair.
I would. All I would say is there's only one of those internationals ever won at Twickenham, and it's neither Dab Jenkins or Ben Carter. And Adam Beard has been selected by Gatland, Gatland again, and Tandy as a starting second row. He was only not selected by the sheriff, whatever his name is. What's his name? Sherritt, whatever his name is, because he wasn't fit. What you get from Beard is a very good liners operator, hit rucks, tackle. He's not the best guy in the world. I'm free to admit that. He's nowhere near the very highest quality second rows, but he'll do a job for you. I can see a strong case for Ben Carter, and I wouldn't argue. But what I would say, if Beard is not selected to start, he doesn't feature in the 23. He'll have no impact off the bench. So you put him on for 50 minutes, does a job in the line out, does a job defensively in the line out, tackles and hits rucks. If that's not what you want, well, then then you've got to go back to then who's the best ball carrier in the second row, and it's probably none of the ones they've selected. They're probably going back to Levi Douglas or something like that. He's the only one that consistently hits the gain line. So, or even old Matt Ball. But Mike, it depends what you want. Beard will do his job, and he's consistent. He's a 6, 7 out of 10. And as far as I know, he's the only one that's been selected in Team of the Week in the Pro 14 this year. So Montpellier perhaps think more of him than any Welsh fan.
Can I counter one of your points?
Of course you may.
So on him being probably our most experienced and winning at Twickenham, etc. I think one of our biggest problems for a very, very long time, and it comes down to the fact that Alan Wynne-Jones played so much, and then we had Jake Ball who played a lot and he started a bit later for Wales, is that we didn't really develop any second rows. And so we then had a problem when Alan Wynne-Jones was tired of just not really having second rows. And I think for me, we're in a rebuild phase. We know we're not going to really do anything this year, might not do anything next year. Hopefully, we've still got something to do the year after. But Dav Jenkins is what, like 23, 24? Ben Carter's like 25. For me, I would much rather start those two and have them gain experience than Adam Beard go out and do, say, an equal performance and him being, what, 31, 32?
He's 30. He's an old man. He's 30.
He's older than me. That's all that counts.
Oh, sorry, I dropped off then. We were talking about Adam Beard. Yeah, I start Beard. I stop caring now. Start Alan Beard. Watch how good our scrum is with him in there, and go from there. Bring one of the others off the bench. Yeah, you've ground me down. I hope you're all happy. Start Beard.
Look, if Teddy Williams was fit, I'd be having a different conversation, yeah. But Teddy Williams is not fit. He's injured. I've got nothing against Ben Carter. I think he has a good future. And Dav Jenkins has improved this year. I've had my doubts about him, but he's a young man and he's stepped up this year. So as I say, if you want to start Ben Carter and Dav Jenkins, that's fine. But in that case, there's no point having Beard in the squad.
No, I agree because what would his impact be?
Yeah.
Same as it would be if he started. But here we go. He's gonna start anyway. We all know he's going to start because I heard someone say that the scrummaging was really good. I didn't realise it was a special scrummaging position. All I'll say is when he's going to start every game in the Six Nations if he's fit, right? Let's cross-reference his work rate with the other second rows in the Six Nations. At the end of it, let's clean slate, and then we'll judge him on that. But you're right, Beard's going to start with Jenkins, and there you go, end of debate, and I can wake back up again.
Well, I think that's this. I know we're assuming that it's going to be Beard and Jenkins, and they are objectively our best two second rows. But just for the sake of making this even more of a debate, even though this is the only one we've actually had any real debate on before at the moment, any other combinations? Beard and Davis, two people who know each other well. Davis loves hitting rucks, hitting people. He will do those godforsaken carries no one else wants to do, where you're only expected to make a yard or two because you're running straight into three defenders to set up the kick.
I think he'd do a stir. He's tough old cookie. There's no doubt about it. He'd do the jersey and himself proud. He'd offer a load of grunt. And I think Nick made a good point in terms of Levi Douglas as well. If you want impact off the bench, I know he's not on the squad. It's a moot point. I get that, but you've only got to watch Levi's performances in recent weeks. He likes whacking people, and he'll carry the ball over the gain line. Physicality is one of the things we've been missing. You look at Levi's, God forbid, is a ball carrying second row. No.
Is that allowed?
I don't think it's allowed.
I didn't think that was in their job description.
Can I just say the thing that surprises me most about Levi Douglas? He gets up in the air.
Yeah.
Because that's his job.
Fair fucks to the lifters.
No,
because that is a hard man to lift.
He walked past me as we were coming out on Saturday night. He's a big guy to lift.
Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder your props are all fucked, Dan.
Yeah. That's true. I'm going to send an email now anyway, just to World Rugby to complain that there's a ball carrying second row in Gwent, and if we can have one that doesn't, that'd be great.
All right. Anyway, so moving on to, I think, something that I know personally for Hattie and myself, one of our favourite areas, back rows.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fair few options. There's quite a few ways we could set this up. I think we're all going to agree though, Aaron Wainwright's going to play 8. I think so. Then for your flanker pairs, so your options are James Botham, Ollie Cracknell, Harry Dees, Alex Mann. You could go really mad, put Rhys Davis on 6, which would be the worst option ever. Josh McCloy, Tame Plumtree, everyone's favourite Labrador. There's quite a few things there. So I think first of all, let's boil down what we want from a 6 and what do you think they're going to go with a 6 and a 7? Are we going to play more left and right? Maybe you pick someone you pick a pair like James Botham and Josh McLeod, and you get 2 players which effectively play the same way as a 6, 7.5. One tackles, the other one gets over the ball. Both are fairly happy up the guts carriers. That's one route where you still have some ball carrying, but your defensive prowess. You go for someone a bit more athletic in the line out, like Tame Plumtree. Do we go up? Do we go for Ollie Cracknell at 7 as an out and out ball carrying 7? Floor's open, gents and lady.
I think 6. I think will either be Cracknell or Mann. And I'm leaning more towards Cracknell because I think, based off what we saw in the autumn, We're going more towards having a more traditional 6 and a more traditional 7. We've been trying to play that kind of 6.5 or having 2 7s out on the pitch for the last couple of years, which makes sense. We have got an abundance of them. But because we don't have the most physical second row, we actually really need a proper blindside flank. Really, we need Dan Lydiate to be like 24 again and able to play. That's what we need. We don't have that. So I think it'll be Ollie Cracknell, which I'd maybe prefer Alex Mann, but I think it'll be Cracknell. And then at 7, I'm going to be slightly biased, but I do think I'm right here, and I think it's going to be Josh at 7. I think he is probably he misses out a lot just because of injury, but also because we have Jack Morgan. And I think to me it makes the most sense out of everybody that we've got. So yeah, I think it'll be Josh and Ollie. I don't know what you guys think.
You might want to clip this, but I actually agree with Hattie and the Scarlet. So I don't know if Lee wants to do that. I fully agree.
And obviously that means that Nick also agrees that everybody's favourite naughty Labrador will be coming off the bench.
Oh, he won't have so long to get a yellow card. Let's put it that way. But
we've got other options. We're already playing three potential 8 options off the bench. We don't need front three. It's fine.
So I agree. I think Cracknell will give us a little bit of physicality, which we definitely going to lack. And Dan's made a good point about there playing 3 6.5s in the back row. I think Cracknell could take the ball up to them and make them do the hard tackling, and take us over the gain line. Because in the 2 games he played, I think it was 2 games, he got injured against Japan, did he? As I remember, he did do that. So I would certainly look at Cracknell being in the team, and I really like McLeod. I think he's a really good player, all-round player. He offers a bit of everything. He's not frightened to take the ball up. And I know he's not internationally experienced, but he's a very good leader. Yeah. And I think we'll need that.
And I think just to go on his kind of leadership, sometimes having a leadership option, it's more about your personality rather than your experience. And I think with the situation that we're currently in, I think in the fact that apart from a couple of people who are a little bit older but aren't leadership options, he kind of gives us a very level playing field to play off. He speaks really, really well with referees. He speaks really, really well with other players.
That's another point for Adam Beard as well. Thank you, Hattie, for bringing that up.
Is he a leadership option?
Yes.
Or was it by default?
No, he's done it many times. But there we are. We'll move on. We'll talk about the back row. I don't want to put Dan to sleep.
Do you want to come and do some? Why am I always the one who seems to have to come up with alternates? Dan, come up with something alternate, please.
Yeah, I'll go Cracknell and Wainwright to start. But I think that I would scrummage them differently depending on whose ball it is. So on our ball, I'd play Wainwright at 8.
Oh, a bit of Ireland women's nonsense going on there.
I think he's a little bit better off.
Teams do it.
I know, I hate it.
Of the scrum, yeah, and then I'd probably defend him at 6, just because I think he's a little bit more dynamic than Cracknell is. But I think you've got 2 good ball carriers there, and then I'd play. I'd go for an out and out 7, and I'd play Harry Deves.
Ooh. And I have to say, if you want someone who knows what England Wales is going to mean, and you want someone who I mean, you can't get better than working class hero Harry Deves.
Yeah, I think he deserves a shot. I thought he performed admirably against New Zealand when he was given his opportunity, and he's a traditional 7. If we do get a line break, I think he'd be good at connecting play when we get in behind. So I'd give him a shot.
Uncontroversially, unsurprisingly, I am gonna be slightly different again. I'm gonna have Cracknell on my bench, as I think he's a great impact option. Now I'm gonna have both of them at 6, purely because people forget whenever he plays for Wales, he does fucking well, and whenever he plays for Cardiff, he does very well. He's very physical.
Who?
And I said James Botham.
Ah,
When you see, I just think the way him and I just think can see the potential of him. I know the issue we always say was when you play 2 6.5s to 2 7s, but I feel like James Botham has enough experience of doing that sort of role of becoming more of a 6 when he needs to, or more of a 7. And they're both very good at getting people down and coming over the ball, and they're very used to actually knocking someone down. The other thing is with McLeod and Botham, even if it is only one or the other, I feel they're the two players in the squad who are closest to Jack Morgan. Now they know I'm not saying they're the same or as good as before I get angry Ospreys fans. I'm saying in terms of skill set, they are the closest. The other thing is James Botham's also quite good in the line out, which does help if we're if because that the England Steve Borthwick coach team is gonna attack your line out. They just are. Chesham is a very good counter jumper. Alex Coles is a very good counter jumper. Mario Toje is famous for being a good counter jumper and screaming in hookers' faces and getting them to throw, getting them off. But I said I'm going to go with it with a consensus here.
The line-out thing, I think these days is a little bit of a fallacy because as long as you manage the numbers right, drop the 4-man line-out every time if you're struggling to win the ball. You've got 15 metres to work in as a 4-man line-out. Don't put any props in it, so you've got 4 lifting options. In and out, little bit of jiggery-pokery movement, and you're creating an uncontested jump every time. Don't even have to throw it in straight then, so Ryan Elias can come on. Simple as that.
I hope we clip that bit up as well.
Right, so we're going for a consensus. I think the general consensus is Cracknell at 6, Wainwright thing. And I said three of us want Cracknell at 6, 3 of us want McLeod at 7. So we'll go with that as well.
One of us is making the graphic, so.
Are you not going to make a case for Man at 6 or 7, Harley?
I think we've seen what he can do, and he will give you a fantastic work rate. But while he will get his man, pun not intended, whilst he'll get the man down every time, I do get that with Dan that we need players to start smashing England players back.
Yep.
And I feel like maybe the heavier teams aren't going to be as suitable for man. Similar for D's, actually. I feel like when you go up against the more lighter packs, so the Scotland Italy style packs, I think that's when they will thrive in those sorts of games.
And I feel
like it's going to be heavy.
I think it's worth remembering. Sorry, Harry. Worth remembering we've got 3 consecutive games, so there's bound to be some rotation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think that, and I go on about this all the time, right? If you don't win collisions, you're not going to win the game. So you need to pick a pack that's going to win you some collisions, right? So at the moment, you've gone like Smith, Lake, Francis, Beard, Jenkins, Cracknell, Wainwright, and then other McLeod, Deves, whoever it is at 7. You should, in theory, win enough collisions there. I think for 50 minutes, we'll win enough collisions to not get rolled over.
Yeah. So moving on to we'll move on to the British boys at back. Is there going to be any arguments against Thomas Williams, Dan Evans as a halfbacks?
I've already written down Williams in my notes. I don't think that's arguable. I, obviously, as a Scarlets fan, would argue for Costello. I think he's playing better than Edwards is right now.
I jump in here because I don't necessarily disagree that Costello has been playing well. But my reasons for keeping Edwards is twofold, maybe threefold. Number one, Costello's not long back from injury, right? So it's one thing playing well at club level. It's another thing then being able, with limited game time, to be able to go and do it at international level. Number two, in fairness to Edwards, he hasn't put a foot wrong in a Wales jersey, I don't think, over the last however many starts he's had. And I don't think now if Costello comes off the bench and takes it off him on Saturday, fair enough. But he's got to go and you need to give him that chair time to go and get it. And I forgot what the third point was. I'm sure it'll come back to me, but it couldn't have been that important.
I'm with Dan on that one. I mean, the reason I suggested those two starters is it's the continuity thing more than anything. I feel like you
say continuity, right? And I am going to point out that we haven't won a game in a while, so maybe continuity isn't the best option.
We have. We won 2 games against Japan.
Yeah,
and Edwards.
I'm pretty sure Dan Edwards was 10 in both of them.
last time Costello won a game for Wales was the World Cup in 2023.
Georgia.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm obviously, for me, it's the person. I agree. Dan Edwards has been okay this season. He's not been brilliant. He's not been bad. But he's the man in possession, and it's up to either Jared Evans or Costello to take that position off him.
And it's a little bit old, and I agree with what Hattie's saying. I think Costello's performances have been good. You know, he was good before he got
Yeah.
injured. He played against the Bears, didn't he, and against Glasgow and stuff like that. And since he's come back, obviously the Scarlets have. There's no there's no surprise the Scarlets have turned their form around a little bit since he's massively since he's been back. So, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I just think they're both young lads, but you haven't really done. Whilst Edwards, he hasn't done anything wrong. Edwards, I haven't been watching him in an Ospreys jersey. Going, God, Jesus Christ, he's been poor. That's not been the case. I think it's a little bit. These boys are a little bit. I don't want to say mentally frail because that's maybe not unfair, but you see where I'm getting at now. Like confidence and sort of mentality is probably a little bit on the edge in the Wales squad. We don't want to do anything. I hope that they both go well and it's a real tussle for the
brilliant. And hopefully they'll both be around for the next 5 years.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Hattie, do you want to push back again now, or are we happy to put it in for this team?
No, I wrote down Edwards about 3 minutes ago.
Cool, but I think Costello has objectively been playing slightly better, but I just feel they're going to go continuity because because of the attack, trying to keep that build on that attack.
I think there is a strong possibility that either in like the first or second game, maybe the third, Costello comes off the bench and plays really, really well, and he takes the jersey off him. But I think we're probably going to have that for the next like 5 or 6 years. Is just it flipping between the two of them,
which is not a bad position to be in.
As long as they're both playing well, I look forward to it. And as Nick said, it's 3 consecutive weeks, so there is a chance that you might see that jersey swap just for cycling through. Centres. So this is where I think Nick is going to introduce one of his changes, and I think we all know what he's going to say. He's going to say Owen Watkins 13.
No, we don't have Owen Watkins anywhere near the team. He can defend. So last we want to do is have people in the centre who can tackle. So no, I'm being sarcastic. Owen Watkins is a very, very good underrated player. He doesn't get the plaudits as some people do for the highlights reel. And I'm reminded a little bit what something Ellis Jenkins said on one of the podcasts, where he'd have man of the match or player of the match a couple of times for a couple of absolute standout moments. But he would say he played okay. And then other games where he's done the nuts and bolts really well, he's come off the field thinking he's played really well, and there's been nowhere near that award. So that's your Owen Watkins. He's going to do the basics very well. He'll organise the defence. He will make his tackles. And given what we said before, and you quite rightly anticipated my position, is that we want somebody who's going to make it difficult for England to cut us open. And if you remember the game at the last game against England, we had the same centre pairing who was playing for England against us on Saturday, I think it was, Dingwall and the other lad, he plays in the wing usually, Freeman, and they cut us apart. So I don't think they'll be cutting Owen Watkins. So yeah, definitely Owen Watkins at 13. And that's hard on Eddie James because I think he's been doing probably quite well. But I just think defence at this occasion is possibly an experience. I would go with Watkins. 12, I think it'll be Ben Thomas because in fairness, his inform has improved since the Autumn Nations. He's played well for Cardiff. I still have my concerns a little bit about his defence. His carrying has improved, but would be my concern. However, I think he will start at 12 because he's a Sherratt man, and Sherratt runs the attack, doesn't he? So I would be surprised if it's not Sherratt and, in my opinion, Watkins at 13. Sherratt's bloody Ben Thomas at 12.
I'm genuinely surprised. I thought you'd go basically say is because we've got Owen Watkins, who isn't particularly much of a ball carrier. I thought you'd just go on. You'd stick Eddie James's natural position of 12, which is where I thought. I'll be honest, that's what I wrote down when I was predicting your centre partnership. Because for me, I think if you go for a slightly smaller 13, you've got to have that bulk at 12, and then maybe you go for someone who's a bit more of a playmaker at 15. You go more down that route, and you use Blair Murray.
Well, we all
as
know,
that second
and I'm sure
playmaker.
Dan would agree with this, 13 is the hardest position in the backs to defend. So therefore, who's your best defender at 13? And whatever you might think about him walking, I think that's clear who is the best defender at 13.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I don't disagree with that at all. I was just saying that I think you have to swap that midfield around to complement.
Because I think sorry, Dan, I was going to say whoever we pick at 10, like all of our 10s are small.
Yeah.
So then having Ben Thomas, who is a small 12, I don't think. I think to have Watkins, I think you have to have Eddie James at 12, who, although internationally we see him more as a 13, he really is a 12. And I know a lot of people see him as like a big lump, but he can play the ball as well.
Came through as a 10. Well, he started off age grades as a 10. So I mean, he could, in theory, do the distribution stuff. He just very rarely has to do it in the Scarlets because of how they set up. So
what does Dan think? Because me and Artie are going to have opinions, perhaps biased, unconscious bias by our teams. You've got no skin in this game. Who do you think?
Oh, now you're an Owen, obviously.
There we are.
No, I think you got to look across their back line as well. When you go on about size and stature, the way England, I think, are probably likely to play the game is not the way that we would traditionally assume, with like a Tuilagi in at 12, or a Tyndall in at 12, or or a Burgess that they've put in there previously. They've gone Dingwall's 90 kgs, something like that.
Yeah.
Ford, not a big man. Tommy Freeman is a winger / outside centre, not a big man. There's no England to come into play. It's a Lee Blackett attack. If you think they're going to be spending the day trucking the centres up, we're very much mistaken. They're going to come to play a speeder ball. They want to play to an edge. They're going to play out the back, and it'll be square blocks running at us. So I think Owen Watkins is our best defender, and therefore I'd have him in there purely for that, so he can marshal the defence for us, and then I'd be okay going with Ben Thomas in there as the playmaker. I think that's the way they want to play the game. So he's in form at the minute. I'd play that, and he's not likely to get run over by Dingwall. That's not, you've got England's version of Ben Thomas or Wales's version of Dingwall playing opposite each other, I would say. That would be my take on it. So effectively, we're going man for man almost. You look at Edwards, Ford, Dingwall, Thomas.
that falls apart when you go Freeman, Watkin, I think.
Yeah, Freeman's a much better runner than Watkin, but I would argue that defensively, Watkin's better than Freeman in at 13. Freeman's traditionally played a lot of rugby on the wing. So Freeman's a top player, my British Lion, but my centre pairing for the weekend would be Thomas and Watkin.
Okay, any pushback then? So I think we've had two people go for that.
Yeah. In fact, we've got 2 of each, haven't we?
There you go, Hattie. You can decide when you make the graphic, and we'll see if there's price. I said I think I was agreeing more towards the Watkin at 13. I think the only difference for me is Eddie is pushing Eddie James into 12 over Ben Thomas. God, I sound like a really terrible Cardiff fan. I know. Choosing the Cardiff.
You'll never be on the Cardiff Central ever again. You're banned.
It's going to get even worse when we start going on to the back three.
Well, I suppose to counter what you're saying is we going like for like. Would the option for Wales to be then to go, right, this is what they've picked in midfield, we'll challenge them physically.
Yeah.
So then you go with two big centres that are going to just run up, but then that changes the way that we play the game.
Yeah.
But we go, right, come on, you're having it. We're gonna send Eddie James down your channel for 80 minutes.
And as you said, you want people to run at George Ford.
Yeah, and if you're running at that scene between 10 and 12, for them it's going to be a case of, he's your man. No, he's your man.
I said that's where I think the flaw in this attacking system is easy is that you need carriers in your pack if you're going to have the back line who don't carry as much.
And we
That's
don't have
where the
that.
balance. That's where the balance comes for me. I think that's the reason why we're always going back towards a more. Whenever we've tried to go to a playmaking 12, we've always ended up going back to your physical Jamie Roberts, Hadley Park style. It's for that reason.
It's like
Moving on to
it's
the back.
like horse. Sorry, Harley. It's like horses for courses, really, isn't it? I suppose, and this is the beauty of rugby. Whereas, if they might be thinking, well, if they go with big centre partnerships, we'll run around them, which is what they've got the ability to do with the team that they've played, and that's what'll make it an interesting battle in midfield. So yeah, sorry. Let's move on to the back three.
Yeah, so move on to back three. So Blair Murray, incumbent 15. We'll go through different options of that. Wings, there's clearly a trend in if you look at these wingers. You've got Josh Adams, big lad. Mason Grady, big lad. Gabe Hamer-Webb, surprise to many, big lad. Worked with Jockey before, very physical, very good on that right wing, very good in the air. You've got Lewis Rees-Zammit, Tom Rogers, again, big man. Ellis Mee, famously big man. And then I'll be honest, he does kind of stick. Blair Murray does stick out. Well, he sticks in, I suppose, more than sticks out with being a smaller guy, and I feel like that has to be on purpose. I think they're going to persist him at fullback, and they're going to go for two big wingers who are very good in the air.
I
don't think it's the right hand. That doesn't mean that's who we have to pick on this pod. We can pick who we want, but I do think that seems to be leaning into it.
I would have agreed with you up until December-ish, when Blair Murray hit whatever form he is currently in after he came back from injury, and I don't know what's happened to that poor little man. But he should not be starting. I also don't think that the backup option that a lot of people are presenting is Louis Rees-Zammit. I think that is a terrible option. Personally, I would go like Tom Rogers at 15. I don't know what you guys think.
I'm going to push back a little bit. I agree. I think the key word there was little, and he's too little in international rugby without shepherding to play 15. So I could see him having maybe a roll off the bench with 10, 15 minutes to go, broken field, possibly, because he offers options. I just don't, with him, with Murray, I'm not sure if he's got the out and out pace to be a winger. He's very good off, jinking, but I don't know that. He has got a good left boot. I've said that before. I recognise that. I'm going to push back a little bit on Louis Rees-Zammit. I understand and Harley and you have often gone on a lot about his defensive frailties. I haven't seen as much as you have. Perhaps you've watched more of him in the English Prem than me. But what I look at his figures, he's beating defenders I think he's the highest, one of the high per game. He's certainly up there, the highest carry meters, highest defenders beaten in the English Prem. Why wouldn't you want to get him on the ball more than you would have on the wing? He's got to catch it first, I accept that. But once you get him on the ball, he is going to cause problems to any defence in the world.
I agree with that. In terms of Louis, the Murray thing is interesting. Just going back to that, because his left foot could be particularly useful. On the weekend, you think sort of line out right hand side of the field, our 10-metre line. We got 9, 12 out the back to 15 long 50-22 opportunities. That's a sort of easy start to play just to relieve the pressure. There's going to be a lot of kicking on the weekend, no doubt about it. If we want to be in the game, there's going to be a lot of kicking. But he does have his frailties under the high ball, and it's a little bit like Obson's choice, really. I think at 15 for us, because we haven't chosen an out specialist fullback. What I will say for Murray as well is, if we do get him on now 1v1, again, we all know they're going to look to play out the back. So they're going to look to play shape at the back, flow in backs around the lines. It's going to be something like 10, 12, 13 short out the back to 15. you go out the back again to a blindside wing coming in, this sort of thing. But what we do have is Murray has got the ability. We saw what he could do up in Scotland last year. Late on, he has got the ability to score from deep. But then I'd argue that Louis Rees-Zammit, if you put him in that sort of space, he's probably a better finisher again. So it's about for me, whatever we do in whatever position those lads playing on the weekend, it's about creating those 1v1 situations or 2v2 situations where they go an outside shoulder and a weak shoulder to attack at, so they can get in behind defenders. So if we give them that opportunity, they'll cause all sorts of problems. But I do think we have to be sound under the high ball to start off with, which is why I'm going to go Adams on one wing. I think I go Rogers on the other wing, and then probably just because of the out-and-out X factor, Louis Rees-Zammit at fullback. However, I'd be concerned about his kicking game.
That's my back three too, just to save time.
All I'm going to say is, I watched him dropping a lot of balls under no pressure. I'm happy for the reasons why you'd put Louis Rees-Zammit in the team, but for me, I think he's a far better winger than he is percentage of fullback. Whereas I feel Tom Rogers is being wasted on the wing. I think he is a better fullback. I would have them the other way round.
Yeah.
So that's Scarlett's not helping there, are they? He needs to be playing at 15 then.
Well, that's where he started off, and then
that's
when
where
they
he
started playing Blair Murray at 15 and
for Wales, they moved it. For me, I think with Louis Rees-Zammit, we had it before he went to the NFL where people were saying he needs to play at fullback, he needs to play at fullback. And I think part of that is that we had a series of wingers turned fullbacks in Wales who were excellent wingers and then they went to fullback and were world class. So we seem to think that Louis Rees-Zammit will be a good, and in theory, it sounds wonderful, but in practice, he's just not very good at it. I think you miss out on all of the really good parts of Louis Rees-Zammit. So, for example, when he is stood out on the wing and his rapid acceleration, when he's at fullback, his rapid acceleration isn't as quite as useful. I think his defence is not good enough for an international fullback. And as Harley said, he drops an awful lot of high balls. I'd also say that his stats for Bristol are slightly skewed by the fact that he also played a lot of this season on the wing.
Does his lack of defence make him not a better choice to play at 15 though? Because 15's role is just last man. So
but I don't trust him at last man.
I want them. Yeah, so I want someone who knows where to be for that, and that's me personally. Also, I feel like in a jockey attack, the way jockey likes his back three to row, your 15 tends to be more of a link man, and then 11 and 14 almost rove as a pair, and then they all sort of interplay, and whichever one has the better option will just out and out gas. Actually, weirdly, in the way jockey set up his Cardiff team, you'd actually be talking about Zammit at 11, I'd say, because typically the way they want to play. Your left-hand winger is your out-and-out pace man, and Zammit is the quickest of our back three options. And then then you'd have someone who's a bit more physical, more than happy to go for that pick and go. Where Josh Adams, I think, would be very good. Where we try and get Mason Grady in that sort of system. That's how I see it looking. I mean, we're arguing horse for courses because at the end of the day, how they're going to run that backfield is you're probably going to have those three plus Dan Edwards, maybe Ben Thomas, dipping in and out of the line and covering.
Yeah, they're going to dip in and out depending on who kicks the ball.
Yeah.
Because kicker drops.
We are literally arguing about the same three people.
Yeah, so I feel like it's almost it's just which number. It's almost like when you've got two flankers and which is 6, which is 7. Which in France makes no difference because they just play left and right.
I'd just throw this into the mix one last time before we kind of move on, because you are right. It's the same three people. Just which way do you want to play them? But where will Louis Rees-Zammit get more touches of the ball?
That will depend entirely on how they set them. I mean, if you're talking about a jockey attack system, left wing.
Yeah. Now, where will he get more touches of the ball? Fullback, because this is international rugby now. There's going to be more kicking again. It's not a club game. It's going to be more kicking again. He will get more ball, and if you think about it from a coach's perspective, now, mind, if you were setting up against Louis Rees-Zammit, right, that does change your kicking game a little bit, doesn't it? and you chase, because you are going to be going. You cannot kick loosely or poorly to Louis Rees-Zammit. You cannot kick him the ball right down his throat with a 20-meter run up so he can pick off a prop forward or a tight 5 forward. You can't do it. He has got the genuine world-class ability to go the length of the field. None of the other players haven't. So you'll get more touches on the ball at fullback. However, if you play differently and go, right, every time we kick the ball, we're going to kick to him, we're going to kick the
Contestable.
corners, contestable, or we're going to make him turn, so then he's got to kick the ball. His kicking is probably likely to be the poorest out of the lot of them. Therefore, they'll have good territory gains because his kicking will be sort of...
Bring back Lee Halfpenny.
Bring back... Well,
I was going to
perfect.
say, I just wish Beetham didn't have that horrible injury straight after his red card against Toulouse and that horrible run.
But this is why, for me, you need a specialist fullback, because you mentioned Lee Halfpenny then. Lee Halfpenny could defend last man, could take a high ball, not the biggest man in the world. We're on about big men like Blair Murray, not the biggest man in the world, could finish and could kick.
Okay, he was,
And this
underrated distribution game as well.
And he could distribute, This is why I brought up Angus O'Brien last week, because I'm not saying he's a Lee Halfpenny, but Angus is a traditional fullback, can do all of those things, kicks the ball miles,
And is in red hot form.
And is in hot form. So there you go. But
And just to hammer the point home, I think this is where the Scarlets and Wales generally have kind of messed up development a little bit with the likes of Tom Rogers, because he is a fullback. He's just been stuck on the wing for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's where I said I feel like Beetham's injury woes which sort of can win it, overtake him, because he is a big lad. Was very good in the high ball, and he's got a siege gun of a boot, which always helps. Anyway, so for the bench, I'm just going to reel off names. If you disagree with a name, just stick your hand up or say, I disagree. So I'm going to go with Elias, Gareth Thomas, and Archie Griffin. Reece Carey?
Yeah.
Cool. Go with that one. As I said, I think Gareth Thomas is similar to Beard. You start him or you don't bother, really. But I thought I'd chuck that in because I feel like that's the obvious name. Right, and then bench option, I'm going to go with Carter.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick both of them on the... I'm getting both of them in this team, and both of them is going on the bench if you're going with Brano, because he covers 6, 7, 8. And again, he's physicality. The only other thing I would think of is if you go with like an Alex Mann or a Harry Deves, just for sheer amount of energy those two would bring off the bench.
And the other thing is, those two and others, England have gone 6-2. Why don't we go 6-2?
I would go 6-2.
Do we want to do a 6-2 where we have 2 second rows?
Do we have 2 second rows?
Yeah, you've got Rhys Davies still. Or do you go with someone like Tame Plumtree, someone who can, at a pinch, go second row if it's an emergency and you're not forcing someone else in?
No, Carter, both them. And then, so like we've gone McLeod, for example, here, so Deves or Mann.
Yeah.
With those options, I think I'd probably go Mann, just because I think he's more versatile off the bench.
Cool. Then I'm going to go with Kieran Hardy for our scrum half cover.
Yeah.
Just because I think of the 3 he's played, he's getting the most game time, and I'd say of the 2 Ospreys scrum half, he's the better one. And to be fair to him, he looks like he's somewhat coming into some decent form. Maybe what was happening to him back in Japan was just a bit of a lurgy. And then, so your outside back option. So this could be, so you want someone basically who's going to cover. So initially I was going to have Costello on this, but I really don't want to put fall into this trap of having a 9 and a 10 only on your bench with a little bit of versatility. And Ben Thomas, as terrible an option is really, he can do a job.
He can do a job.
He can do a job there.
Well,
so
Murray
for me, I'm thinking
natural.
you either go with. Personally, I think a centre. I would probably go with centre. But with Blair Murray, you've got someone who can sort of play 10 if you really needed him. So you've got him as an option. You've got Mason Grady, just on the fact, in theory, he can play wing and centre. Or the other option is Eddie James, who can play 10 or 13, and then maybe worst comes to worst, you push Ben Thomas to 15.
Murray.
Or can I throw a curveball?
gone.
Do you think they might, if they're looking for somebody who can cover the wing and centre, do you think they're going to cap Hennessy?
Well, that is a strong shout, and I think that's someone, Nick, you were you were looking forward to seeing in the autumn as well.
I like him, but I don't watch. It's difficult, isn't it? I don't watch a lot of Prem, so but I've saw him a lot for the 20s. He has got something. He's definitely a player of the future, and I suppose the difficulty is if you go 6-2, you probably want somebody with a bit more experience. If we're losing by 30 points, which could be the situation, well, it doesn't matter, does it? Let's get Louis or Hennessy on and let him see what he can do for 10 minutes. But if it's a bit closer, you probably want somebody with a bit more experience.
And I think that's when you bring him on the wing instead of in centre.
Yeah.
So, who do you think? Because I feel like really
Murray.
the only back with extensive experience left there, really, you're looking at Jared Evans. I suppose. I forgot to throw Joe Hawkins in the mix again, a 10-12 cover.
I think you
But
can throw. I think you could do all that.
I think the problem with Jared Evans or Joe Hawkins at this centre is if your 13 goes down,
If you go
it
6-2,
becomes very like that.
if you go 6-2, you've got to have a centre stroke wing on the bench, not a 10.
Absolutely, I think I agree with you there. So, Hattie, do you want a final say on this one? I said, choke me opposite and said,
I think we're gonna go a bit rogue and go for Hennessy. I think that's what the coaches are going to do.
sorry, Dan, I just realised I didn't actually get your opinion on that one. Do you want to veto that?
Oh, he said Blair Murray.
Yeah. But I'd have gone Blair Murray because at the push we could stick Josh Adams in there, which we've done before. Whether we like it
can we go back to Tom Rogers? That was a less painful experience of a winger going to 30
or not. So and I just think Blair Murray gives us a better kicking option.
And he would be good in broken play, wouldn't he, in the last 10 minutes?
Yeah,
and
I do feel he's probably a better, because you think Marcus Smith most likely, unless there's an injury, is going to come on at 15th for Stewart.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're almost trying to counter England, but almost.
No.
It's like this. I'm swayed, but I do like the idea of giving Hennessy his debut.
I just think if you're going to give him his debut, play him in his natural position. Because, the last thing you'd want, right, is whilst he can play on the wing.
He's been playing on the wing recently. Like the last couple of
He's natural 13.
He's a natural 13, but it's different to going on the wing and being pet. Because the first thing I do if I was Borthwick, then you get a message on as soon as you see Hennessy on the wing, go, right, start kicking him the ball, please. And it's a shit old place to be in front of 80-odd thousand at Twickenham, getting peppered with eyeballs and seeing the likes of Freddie Stewart and Tommy Freeman bearing down on you. So
I feel like the weakness we get with when we go for 6-2 is because if say 12 or 13 go down, I mean 12, and then you're pushing Josh Adams and Tom Rogers who don't play there regularly, and then all of a sudden there's a hole there. Like, I mean, this is the risk of 6-2s and 7-1s and those sorts of benches that you balance.
This is all assuming we're going to be in the game, isn't it? With 20 minutes to go.
Weirder things have happened.
Otherwise it's all a moot point anyway. You might as well go for
might as well give all the WRRAP. Just stick all the WRRAP.
Oh Christ, not that bad.
Family off of the bench.
I reckon I got 20 minutes in me.
for one cap, I reckon I could hold on the side of one scrum.
You'd be surprised, right? It's funny.
Welsh International Harley Worthy.
The pace of it would absolutely blow your socks off, right? Rugby's rugby, whatever level you play at, right? Obviously, it's the same all around the world. But the pace of it would blow your socks off. It's
like when if you go running, it's like when you watch, you'll jog or whatever, and they watch a marathon runner, and they're running like 5 times faster than you, and they're running bloody 26 miles.
Yeah, you were used to you'd be playing, the league player at 8-9 second rucks, and they're playing 2-3 second rucks, and you're like, whoa, I've just run from side to side here and done absolutely nothing. It's chaos.
Obviously, we're all familiar with Phil Dorman. Former Newport and extra Chiefs legend, now he cruelly missed out on his World Cup, but obviously he's coach at Sidmouth RFC when I was, well, still is, and when I was there, and he normally he takes it pretty relaxed when he's training with the boys, unless he's actually due to play, unless he's going to actually play. But if he's not planning on playing, he's a bit more relaxed. So you've got half a chance. One day he decided to take it seriously when I was trying to defend him when he was playing at 10, and I could not get anywhere fucking near him. It was just like, and you're thinking he's been retired like 2-3 years, and he's still in. I mean, he still does loads of running and stuff, but and you're just like, Christ, there's no way I could take this. There's no way I could deal with this if this is like an actual professional side. Admittedly, I am very, very terrible.
The speed of it would be interesting if like a member of the Joe public to a supporter just to go and have a look at
hit a rock.
Well, forget just the speed of it.
The ruck could hit you back.
The physicality of it. Then thereafter, we've got someone where you're running into someone, it'd be like running into a small car, and be insane for people to. I don't think people realise the.
No.
I genuinely the prospect of like being tackled by even like I think even by tackled by George Ford, I think what's left of my skeleton would turn to dust. And I know he's not the strongest to tackle it, but I mean like it's still it's a bit different when you're bouncing off a 6'6", 18 stone bloke, the 5'11" and maybe 13 stone ringing wet. Anyway, that's a team. Hattie, I'll see what surprises you. I think consensus, although Dan does make an argument, I'm going to go. I am slightly swayed towards Hennessy just because we're getting.
You always do this to me. I need to speak to HR.
It's because you're Dragons here, and as we all know, all 50-50 decisions must go against you.
It's fucking true and all that, isn't it?
And are we doing what we actually want and having Carter start, or are we going with what we think and having Carter on the bench?
Oh, look, don't mention, and for those of you that are listening to this whilst driving, the term Adam Beard will be brought up, so please pull over into a safe space so you don't fall asleep whilst listening to this pod. Okay, we're going to stick Adam Beard in there. So,
Last chance, Lou.
Oh, yeah, the Beard Supporters Club will be, sending letter bombs to my house or something, I expect, otherwise. So just stick him in there. Anything for a quiet life.
Anyway, so that's that. So we'll just go on to predictions for the game. But before that, Nick, just to give you some even more good news, it's time to tell you how well you're doing in the prediction league compared to everyone else, which is very. So you're unsurprisingly still in first place on 94. And looks like you're going to be the first one to break a ton. Then next up is Dan on 81, which is a bit of a drop. Then Hattie, you're third on 79, and then me just behind on 78. So my reign as top predictor champion has come crashing fucking down. Now I'm actually on a podcast with 3 people who know what they're talking about.
I don't care. I'm not on the bottom anymore.
My problem is I've backed the Dragons every week. I need to be more realistic.
A lot of my issues have come by either not backing the Dragons enough or backing them too much. To be fair.
See, it's the Dragons' fault again.
It's their fault.
It's always the Dragons' fault.
I mean, I also expect the Ospreys to act like the team with the best team and with the deepest squad in Wales, and that's usually when they decide that, oh no, we're all broken. Anyway, so that's that. So let's move on to Six Nations predictions. So first of all, I would like your score, a simple how many points you think England are going to beat Wales by, and then where you think Wales are going to come, and who you think is going to win the Six Nations. And those ones we will post up at the end of the tournament to see how close we are. So we will start. We'll go with Dan start off with this one.
What do you want? Score, was it?
So score prediction, where you think Wales are going to come, and then who you think is going to actually win the Six Nations.
38-17. England. Wales to come 5th. I think we win a home game. We come 5th. And win the Six Nations. On paper and on form, it should be England, really. I would say that I think it'll be a decider out in France.
Excellent. Hattie?
I am going to say 43-26 to England. I think I'm going to say Wales are going to come 5th. I'm not hopeful. But if I don't say 5th and have something to look forward to, I will jump off a roof.
There's some very good names coming up in for potentially for Wales women.
Yeah. And then, um, who do I think is going to win? I really don't want it to be England, but I don't. I think France have gone with such an experimental squad, and I think Ireland are so broken. And form, unfortunately, I do think it'll be England. And do you know what? We're not going to hear the bloody end of it.
Nick,
England 48-12. And what was the winners, was it? Where are we going to finish? Sorry,
where are we going to
5th.
finish it?
I think we will beat Italy. But I'm not, as I say, that depends on a lot of other factors. And finally, I think France will beat England in Paris. So I think France will win this in the Six Nations. I understand what people are saying about some of their surprising selections, but they've got so much strength in depth. Their under 20s have been very successful the last 3 or 4 years, and a lot of those players have been brought into the setup now. And I'm going France.
And I can see that. And arguably, like people have been on about Pinot. Pinot's not been lighting it up for Bordeaux. You know, you
No.
saw him get mugged off by Pollock a couple of weeks ago.
Have you not heard his thing at the moment? He doesn't want to be a top try scorer now. He wants to be a top try assist. So he's now trying to assist more tries, which is the reason he's not scoring any.
And
Which I have to
Figo,
say is the Frenchest thing I've ever heard.
It is. And you know what Figo can do. So I don't disagree with that, Nick. I just want. Do France have to go to Ireland?
No, that's because the starts Thursday night, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
In Paris.
So
See-
France go. Sorry, Hattie. France
are
go away.
home to Ireland.
So they home to Ireland and England, and they go away
The
to
Blues. No, Wales and the Blues, the other two Blues. Yeah,
Wales, Scotland. Oh, that changes things.
I think it might
See-
be.
It's too late now. It's locked in, Dan. You should have
Can
checked the
I
fixtures before.
make a
Yeah.
bonus prediction?
Go on.
I don't think it's going to be a Grand Slam year.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think so France don't start well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win at the weekend. Well, Thursday.
Thursday.
And then I think they'll beat England at home, but then I wouldn't be surprised if they randomly dropped a game because they went for an experimental side.
Against Wales.
I think we underestimate, the fact that Scotland traditionally always doing well in the Calcutta Cup as well. So, Ireland, they're going to be there or thereabouts as well, aren't they? The reality is it's probably split in half. The Six Nations, I would say at the minute, it's a shootout between England, Ireland, and France for the championship. I think I agree with Hattie that may not be a Grand Slam this year. But it'd be a typical Scotland thing, wouldn't it, to go and play brilliantly against England and then get rolled over by Wales. Something along those lines. So, but do you know what? That's what makes it the best reoccurring rugby tournament in the world.
What about you, Harley? You haven't had your prediction.
Dan was kind of stealing my big trump card, where I think we're going to lose about 49-3. I think we're going to take a penalty at the start, and then that is just all going to unravel. But despite that, I think we're going to finish 4th because I think we're actually going to undo Scotland because they'll be high off beating England and Twickenham. So I agree with Hattie. I don't think it's a big Grand Slam, although England really should be walking this tournament.
I think they'll get cocky, like Ireland did the other year.
Yeah, I think Wales will finish 4th, and I think if we beat Scotland, we'll beat Italy. But if we don't beat Scotland, it'll be a wooden spoon. Because I think the mental fatigue side of things will go either that, or we'll for some reason do what we did a couple of years ago, where we didn't take Italy seriously, despite them objectively being an improved side and becoming much closer as we were dropping down. I think England are going to win it, but without a Sam. I think they're going to drop the game to Scotland, and that's going to reinvigorate them, and they're going to clean through it. And I think they'll beat France on that last weekend.
But let's not forget now, right? Let me take you back 20 years. We've been here before.
Yeah.
2004, we were rubbish. 2005, the dragon awoke. Ruddock's men besieged Twickenham. Took them out. Come on, are you with me here? Where's Michael Sheen when you need him now to give me some like sort of?
I was expecting you to go into a full Michael Sheen thing.
Yeah,
I could carry on.
You did it yourself.
With eight players selected in our 15 with Osprey connections, what it's guaranteed we're going to win.
There you go. It's perfect. So why not? And you know what happened in 2005, don't you? Say it. Say it out loud.
Yes, I did. We won.
Yeah. What did we do in the tournament?
Some guy kicked a penalty who shaved his legs.
Well,
and put a bit too much fake tan on.
Hey, you've heard it here first on the wrap. Wales are going to win the Grand Slam.
Oh God.
There you go.
I apologise.
All we need is some razors and some fake tan.
I was going to say, Gareth Sinclair from the Dragon's Lair podcast has purchased a very realistic Dan skin suit and joined the pod.
It's this 6.5%. It is.
Yeah, that's what I did it.
So a couple of just the few last bits of housekeeping then. So don't forget we have the whole tournament kicks off Thursday night. That'll be on ITV. Sorry, I don't say that. We've got Wales under 20 playing up in Northampton Friday night at kickoff at 7:45. That'll be on BBC. Hopefully Scrum 5, but it's
going
to be buried on the iPlayer. So
I think it's an SPWRAP as well.
And there you go. I believe, Nick, you said beforehand all the Wales games are going to be on SPWRAP anyway.
I think so.
Yep. If not, they'll be on ITV, and that is a 20-5 kickoff, so 16:40 if you use 24-hour clock on Saturday. The thing, and obviously no women's rugby because they sensibly have moved it closer to the summer, which means slightly better pitches. That's on them. Anyway, if like us, you need a bit of extra chemical assistance for getting through. Remember, beer52.com/WRRAP, WRRAP, to get 8 free beers. Just pay your postage. And with that, thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Dan. Thank all of you for listening. Enjoy your rugby and Nostar.
Nostar.
Nostar.